In the far west of China, behind barbed wires and surveillance towers, a slow erasure is underway. Families vanish. Mosques fall silent. Children forget their mother tongue. This isn't history. It's happening now. And the world is watching quietly. After the 9/11 attacks, the world shifted. Terrorism became the primary concern for governments everywhere, and this was especially true for China. In the remote, resource-rich region of Xinjiang, things were about to take a turn. For years, the Uyghur people, an ethnic group with their own distinct language, culture, and history, had felt the weight of tension with China's central government. But after September 11th, China found itself with a new opportunity. They used the global war on terror to reframe the growing discontent in Xinjiang, painting Uyghur efforts for more autonomy as part of a broader problem of terrorism. China pointed to groups like the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, or ETIM, as evidence of this so-called threat. Suddenly, Uyghurs were no longer seen as people wanting self-determination. They were labeled as terrorists. This narrative shift justified Beijing's increasingly harsh measures, and that's when things started to escalate. In 2009, things boiled over. The Ürümqi riots were a direct result of simmering ethnic and economic tensions, and they turned violent. Over 200 people died, and it became the trigger for a full-on security crackdown. This incident gave China the green light to really tighten its grip on Xinjiang. By the mid-2010s, China wasn't just relying on traditional policing methods. Instead, they turned to technology. Xinjiang would become a testing ground for a kind of surveillance state like the world has never seen before. From facial recognition software to the infamous social credit system, China began building a model of total control, using technology to monitor every aspect of Uyghur life. But while the tech seemed cutting edge, the human cost was undeniable. Uyghurs found themselves in constant battle to hold on to their culture and identity in the face of an ever-expanding surveillance state. By 2017, China's approach to dealing with the Uyghur issue became far more extreme. This wasn't just about surveillance anymore, it was about mass detainment. Reports began to surface about the construction of re-education camps throughout Xinjiang. Officially, the Chinese government described these camps as vocational training centers meant to curb extremism and offer Uyghurs an opportunity to learn new skills. But the reality was far darker. Inside these facilities, thousands of Uyghurs, some say the number is over 1 million, were detained without trial. They were forced to undergo political indoctrination, their religious practices and cultural expression suppressed. The idea was to erase Uyghur identity and replace it with a more Chinese version of loyalty and obedience. But China insisted these camps were necessary to fight terrorism and radicalization. They repeatedly denied accusations of human rights abuses, claiming that the camps were part of a broader effort to improve stability in Xinjiang. For many Uyghurs, though, the camps weren't just an inconvenience or a threat to their freedoms. They were a direct assault on their very existence. Their cultural identity stripped away in an effort to reform them into something unrecognizable. As the plight of the Uyghur people gained international attention, the world began to take notice, but the response has been mixed and often slow. The Chinese government, while denying any allegations of abuse, continues to assert that the re-education camps are a part of its efforts to combat extremism and bring stability to the region. The United States has led the charge in labeling China's actions as genocide, with multiple lawmakers and officials speaking out about the human rights abuses. The United Nations has also tried to step in, but its efforts have been hindered by China's power on the global stage. Calls for an independent investigation into the camps have largely been blocked, and much of the international response remains fragmented. One of the most significant recent efforts has been the Uyghur Tribunal, a people's tribunal set up in 2020 by human rights advocates to investigate China's treatments of Uyghurs. The tribunal's findings concluded that China's actions constitute genocide, bringing further global attention to the ongoing crisis.